Hey, what's up, y'all? So it's Mike and Mulley, and we just wanted to let you guys know. First of all, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking, sharing, subscribing, supporting the podcast and what we do. Um, I just wanted to say we've got a few episodes that we've recorded months in advance because we were just trying to test the waters and see what kind of product we were going to put out.
Honing our craft.
Yeah, and it did take us a while to get to the point where we actually started to release, even though we've had people over the course of really the last year asking when you're going to drop. And we're at that moment now. So if you're hearing this episode was recorded months in advance. So we do apologize for any outdated information that we may have, any old takes. But in the end of the day, I think it's just still entertaining. We wanted to put this out for you guys. So we hope that nonetheless you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, and we think it's a format, this top 10 list, kind of a format that isn't really super time sensitive, but there are some things that you might hear in these podcasts that seem dated, and that's the reason. So we just wanted to warn you up front. Some of these are older podcasts because we recorded them months in advance, but we still think the quality is there and that you'd get enjoyment from it.
And so without further ado, here's the next episode.
Enjoy.
Actually, I did some homework for this list because I wanted to get specific actors for specific titles on the list, and I knew their face but not their name, and I tried to memorize them. In 2024, I'm trying to actually be more professional.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Top 10 Movie Podcast. This is Mulley here, as always, with my friend Mike, and we're to talk about movies. Today's movie list is the top 10 most anticipated movies of 2024. This is a very subjective list, and me and Mike have compiled our own very personal list for top 10 movies. And Mike was telling me before the show started here that you went a little bit more obscure, off the popular path, so to speak, right?
Yeah, because I had a feeling that you're going to go for the popular stuff.
Me.
Yeah, and I mean, this would not be an entertaining episode if I copied your list almost title for title. So
It might go quicker.
it might be, but I don't want it to go super fast. But I did a very extensive search to get my list. I probably looked at 100 different movies from January to December. And I looked at movies that stood out based on synopsis, like not really so much the actor or actresses in it. I went more for the story, like the synopsis of the story.
Well, and in some cases, I did the exact opposite to that because one of the difficulties of trying to come up with a list like this is there are, a lot of hidden gems we don't know about yet. We're going to discover a month or two out that actually we didn't even know were in production. Something like recently I saw the trailer for Monkey Man, and I didn't even know had happened or been filmed. And it looks amazing. And that would have made my list if I had thought about it or had enough time to put it on the list. But I just discovered it like yesterday or the day before. So there's that aspect of it. But also, some of the movies that are on the list, they haven't even released a trailer. So we don't even know what it's going to look like. So all we have is maybe a written synopsis, maybe a list of actors or directors. So in those cases, then I personally then went with, okay, who's in it? Who's directing it? What is their track history as a director? Does that make me excited for potentially what they're going to do with this project and those actors? And that's kind of that's more some of my anticipation for the movie, where there isn't a trailer for it or much information available. One of these movies didn't have a trailer. All they had was B-roll. So I watched B-roll to try to get a sense of what the movie was and a little bit of the atmosphere and stuff like that. But, some of these movies, one of these movies is coming out, I think, in the next month or two, and no official trailers come out yet. So we'll talk about that. All part of the list.
Speaking of list, I want to amend my previous statement. I said I try to pick movies not based on the actor. There is actually one name on here I went by the names because, like you said, there's no footage. There's a couple of pictures.
That's right.
But the names attached. And the type of movie it is, the genre, I said I'm all in for this. So.
Well, all right, hook us up with your first one then. Let's see what's your first. Not necessarily in order, or is this?
I never do like an official like this is my number two. This is my number one.
This is my number one. I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it usually just kind of happens as like number one's the first one that comes to me right away.
Yeah.
And I work my way I get to 10, and surely enough, every time I get to do this, when I get to 7 or 8, I got to start to really dig deep to get those last 3 or 4. So yeah, the first one is it's the most obvious for me. If you've spoken to me in the last 4 to 6 months about movies coming out, about how the writer strike and the actor strike has affected production and movies have been shifted and production dates have been moved, then you know this is the most anticipated. So this probably is would be number one. This is Dune 2.
Dune 2 on my list as
Yeah,
well.
I figured it would be on your list.
It is.
I think it would be on most people's list who are just avid moviegoers. This movie was supposed to come out in December 2023. The trailer dropped, I want to say it was around August of September of 2023. And I saw it in the theater watching something else and was just as mesmerized as I was watching Dune 1 when I saw it in the theaters. So I was super hyped for this movie. And when I got the news, I think actually you might have been the one to tell me, hey, this movie got pushed to 2024. I almost broke my TV.
I love to deliver the bad news.
Yeah, you do. I was highly upset, but Dune 2 looks to be, at least from what we've seen so far in terms of trailers released and productions that we know about, this is probably going to be one of the more better movies of the year.
Yeah, obviously, as a cult following, and some really a lot of star actors, actresses, big cast.
Want me to give you the list?
Please.
Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Dave Bautista, Stellan Skarsgård, and who's the new person to see the franchise who wasn't in part one is Austin.
Butler.
Thank you, who played Elvis.
Played Elvis, and Austin Butler in this movie shaved his head and his eyebrows.
Yeah, he looks a little bit like the
He
guys
looks
from Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
Like those
I
those
love
guys.
his look.
Yeah, he looks cool.
I think it's going to be so good. The name I didn't hear was, I guess because they're going to be they weren't in the first one, they're going to be in the second one. Florence Pugh is going to be in the second one.
Yes.
Javier Bardem is also a part of that cast. So, directed by Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve, I think.
Villeneuve. Like Cove.
I believe he also did
Villeneuve.
Blade Runner 2049, which I love that movie.
He did the first Dune, Blade Runner 2049, The Arrival, and Sicario.
So you know visually his movies are going to be top notch. Cinematography is going to be off the charts.
So the summary for this movie I have as...
Oh, you're going to do a summary?
Well, just a quick one. Paul Atreides unites with Shani
I mean, your guess is good. I don't remember.
and the Freeman while seeking revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. Facing a choice between the love of his life and the fate of the universe, he must prevent a terrible future only he can foresee. So, obviously...
It was a fantasy movie.
Fantasy.
Fantastical elements all throughout. They're fighting over spices.
And different planets, and mainly... It looks like the majority of this movie is going to take place on that sand planet with those giant worms and him being more of a part of those desert people that he joined there at the end of the first movie. So.
To me, like this completely gives off Star Wars vibes without the camp, which I appreciate. I'm not a camp person.
Okay.
I don't like the woods.
All right. Well, Dune 2, on both of our lists.
Yeah.
For me, this is my most anticipated movie of 2024. I know it's not for you because you don't really care for comic book movies as much. You're okay with them. But for me, and I think for a lot of people, the idea of joining Deadpool and Wolverine together is very appealing. Like something we wanted to see for a long time. And to give us a little bit of hope amidst this kind of multiverse madness that we're going through right now, I think has lost a lot of people. They're hoping that this will reunite the comic book, movie, action fan base at large.
Okay.
It's superhero movies that we've just been flooded with subpar movie spectacles, plots, stories, multiverse missteps, I would say.
Oh, look at that alliteration. I like that.
Now the hope is that this film can bring us all back together again, back on that Avengers Endgame type vibe
Okay.
that we've been missing. So Deadpool 3, July 26th is when that's slated. And actually, we need to tell you that Dune 2...
March 2nd, I think.
March 1st.
March
March
1st.
1st is coming out. So this is July 26th. So, right when those kind of tentpole movies happen in July, it's always something big. I think this is going to be the biggest one. I think this is probably going to be the Barbie Oppenheimer, but in one movie type event that's going to make all the money. It's going to make all the money. So breaking definitely the $1 billion club for sure. It's going to star Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman. They've also got on the cast, according to what I read, Owen Wilson.
He's a part of the TVA from the Loki series. Yeah.
Marina Baccarin, which is the love interest for Deadpool. Jennifer Garner, which we talked about before the show started with the Electra character. And then we're assuming a ton of unknown cameos. Patrick Stewart is assumed to be one of them, and may have given that away that he is. So, but who knows what we could see in the idea potentially is to kill off the Fox portion of the universe that we saw the X-Men from, and then bring in a kind of help to bring in a new X-Men as part of the Marvel film production era. But first of all, who directs this movie? It's going to be directed by Sean Levy, who's the director of Free Guy, Real Steel, Night at the Museum. He did The Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds as well. That's on Netflix. Cheaper by the Dozen back in the day with Steve Martin.
I highly disapprove of this list, but go ahead. This choice, but go ahead.
This of him at being the director of it, yeah.
Because I hated most of the movies you just listed.
I liked Free Guy, and I know I like a lot of these movies actually. Date Night 2 with Tina Fey and Steve Carell.
Okay, I like that.
It certainly, I could argue that it is kind of a hit and miss, but most of these movies I really liked.
It's Ryan Reynolds heavy, which worries me.
And this is a Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, so, but this might be Ryan Reynolds' best character, and the most, maybe not best for his acting wise, but most beloved. I think it's pretty safe to say. So he's the perfect guy in the perfect role. So now he gets a director that he's used to working with,
right,
and has had success with in the past. Whether it's good success, it might be a judgment call by you of whether you think it is or not. But I think most of these movies, one of the main things is most of these movies are positively received, and made money probably based on their budgets. But the summary for the movie that they have out there is that Wolverine is recovering from his injuries when he crosses paths with the loudmouth Deadpool. They team up to defeat a common enemy, which seems pretty vague and generic. There's just not a lot known about the plot right now. There's been some pictures and some videos leaked, and where it's hinting at destroying the Fox universe of X-Men characters, but we don't really know for sure. Not as lot as known, and I kind of like it like that. I don't want to know about the cameos until I go into them. If at all possible, I'll try to avoid it.
They're going to get leaked anyway.
That's why you got to see it instantly.
Everything gets leaked, yeah.
It's going to get leaked, yes.
And sometimes stuff gets leaked before the movie comes out anyway. Or
that's right.
Before.
It's shown overseas first, and then it's ruined. So you just have to actively try to avoid social media. But anyway, I think that's going to be the top movie of the year, and it's the one that I'm looking forward to the most. And we haven't even seen a trailer for it yet. So July 26th can't come quick enough. And that first trailer, rumors, potentially Super Bowl trailer, could be pretty epic.
I'm sure it will be. It'll be at least a teaser at some point.
Yeah.
And I just want to say for the listeners that Steven has multiple pages of notes. Mine is one very little 3x5 index card because Steven's the front of the class student and Mike is the back of the class. So I just want to point that out.
I think really it comes from my own insecurities because I feel like sometimes I'm stumbling to try to remember somebody's name or what's that director, what else did he do?
Well, that's what you have me here for. I'm your Rolodex.
Yeah, okay. So, but this time I just wanted to have it in my back pocket just to make sure that when I talked about these certain movies, that I wrote down things that I wanted to make sure I remembered.
Well, I'm going to reiterate that I'm a product of the public school system. So even if I had 10 pages of notes, I would still not be able to read half the words you just read. So, props to you, man.
Okay, thanks. What's the next one on your list?
Next one on my list. This is the second one on my list. It's not number 2 in terms of order, but Ghostbusters 2 or Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Yes,
I'm excited about this because I actually enjoyed Afterlife. It was kind of hit or miss for a lot of people.
Yeah,
we talked about this before that the whole Ghostbusters IP may be a little outdated. I've seen videos of people talking about the whole IP of Ghostbusters might be outdated. How do you reintroduce this franchise to a new audience? Because it's been, without counting the Ghostbusters that was the all-female cast,
yeah.
If you remove that, it's been over 20 years. since we've seen a Ghostbusters movie, and
Ghostbusters 2, right?
that was 1989. So yeah, we're looking at 30 years, 33
I remember, I
years.
think Bobby Brown did the main soundtrack
Well,
song
he
for
did.
that
He did a
movie.
song on there. Yeah, it actually wasn't bad, but like I enjoyed Afterlife. I enjoyed injecting new blood in McKenna Grace and Finn Wolfhard, Paul Rudd.
Dude, yes, McKenna Grace was such a revelation in that movie. I
I've
mean,
seen her in other things, and she's always a standout in whatever she's in.
wow, wow. I'm
She's
glad.
like she's like a second coming of Dakota Fanning to me in terms of acting ability.
I think she just stood out above everyone, and I was really kind of worried about everyone else, even Paul Rudd a bit. I was like, oh, where does Paul Rudd fit in? I'm still concerned a little bit about that when we go into the second one.
Well, this one looks much more serious in tone. What I love about this trailer is they take it back to New York. So this is like the taking it back to the roots of the
Right.
franchise, the characters. Obviously, we know that the original cast that's still living is going to be a part of this. They're not trying to hide it because we've already seen them in the last one in Afterlife
Yeah.
show up, and they even bring Annie Potts back, which I
That's
thought was
awesome.
kind of cool. It looks serious in tone. The what we're assuming to be the ultimate big bad in this movie looks like this giant ice queen. Looks terrifying. We've only seen just kind of like a silhouette of her coming out of like this icy fog. Looks like she's about 20 feet tall. Looks very like the things that nightmares are made of is what she looks like. And then you see there's the hero side of the Ghostbusters in the red jackets, which is very reminiscent of the real Ghostbusters cartoon. They wore
Oh,
the
yeah,
red
that's
jackets
right.
instead of the
Yeah, that's right.
like that tan color. So I'm excited about this movie.
My concern about Ghostbusters when it's just like you mentioned that maybe it's a franchise that's out of time, like it's not in its right time right now, and that's what I'm hoping that they correct in the movie. Like it felt like the original Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 were not children's movies, but a lot of children and adolescents watch them because it's so in their wheelhouse of it's almost Halloweenish, kind of thing, but it's not the horror film, but the holiday, kind of a holiday Halloween type ghosts and dress up and be Ghostbusters. It was always, even though I felt like, especially today, I feel like it's an adult film, but it's captured my imagination as a child. But tell me if this rings true for you. When I was a kid, I felt like, especially looking back on it as an adult, that some of the imagery and some of the things that were introduced to children back in the 80s was really irresponsible.
No, 100% agree. And I again, I'm always going to say this: cocaine was heavy in the 80s. It was active. It was out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, a lot of the movies that were out in the 80s were definitely not child friendly. There was a most of the popular movies from the 80s skewed to an R rating or a very hard PG-13, which close to R. Compared to now, it's like if a movie's rated R now, we know it's R. If it's PG-13, it's kind of that blend of, well, you can bring your kids if you think they're mature enough, but if not, leave them at home. Back then, it was like guns, gore, testosterone, images that you definitely don't want your kids to see. It was out there. It was public. It was everywhere you went. Even like think about
Scary is more
classics
what I
like
think
The
about.
Goonies and The Lost Boys.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Goonies, the Gremlins. Just some of the things, even in Ghostbusters, for sure, Ghostbusters, the horrific things that I remember as a child seeing that ghost in the library at the beginning of Ghostbusters freaked me out. I didn't understand totally what was happening with the ghost in the guy's bedroom scene with Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, as a kid, yeah, you don't understand what that is at all.
Now as an adult, you understand what's happening. But yeah, I saw that as a kid. So taking that subject matter and trying to put it in today's culture, really difficult. You would think. So now that we're done with that initial introduction of the new Afterlife Ghostbusters movie, and I really felt that was a movie that had a lot of heart, and I really enjoyed it. I love to see the Harold Ramis ghost at the end. I thought it was awesome to see all four of them together again. Okay, so now we're going to take it out of that environment and try to reintroduce it into this New York Obviously, we're probably going to see the firehouse again and all that stuff, right? But how do these children now? Because the original Ghostbusters didn't involve children.
Right.
This Ghostbusters specifically involves children. They are the stars of the show. So they are making something that was a kid, it wasn't necessarily a kids movie in the '80s, and making it a child central movie, or at least an adolescent centralized movie. So my interest is now you're taking it out of the origins of that, the innocence of that, I guess, and now we're taking that into New York City. So I'm going to be really interested to see how they do that and how successfully they can transition that. But I think it's more of a transition in my mind, almost from an adult, not quote unquote adult, older, full of scares and thrills movies from the '80s, where there weren't as many boundaries that we put around our children at the time, into now what is essentially a children's movie, or at least an adolescent focused movie, because they're the stars of the show, and kids can put themselves into those characters. Whereas adults, we would be more like Paul Rudd than we would necessarily be the young girl that we mentioned.
Well, social media has made kids mature faster
Yeah,
because of the amount
for
of
good and
content
bad.
they can consume. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's also plays a role in it. So,
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how they make that transition to New York. That's going to be interesting. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm talking too much. Maybe
just
talking.
took over my movie. It's fine. It's okay.
Oh, did I do? I apologize. All right, so to take more shine off of you, let's talk about my next movie, Gladiator 2. This is right up there with Deadpool. I thought would be like they're like 1A 1B for me. I am super looking forward to Gladiator
Really?
2. And it's mainly because not only did I love that first movie, which was more all about Russell Crowe. So in my mind, anytime we ever talked about or thought about a sequel for Gladiator, I was like, well, you can't do it without Russell Crowe. And Russell Crowe just doesn't, to me, he just doesn't isn't the same Russell Crowe as he was back then. Obviously, he's gotten older and bigger, and it's more comedic now in my mind a little bit. I don't know. I don't see it. He can't play the role anyway because of what happens at the end of Gladiator 1. But
Oh, you mean because he dies?
he does. Okay. Gladiator 2. I said, how are they going to reintroduce us into that world? Well, you get Denzel Washington, and you're like, okay, well, that's a huge step. Get Denzel. Like, all right, well, you know that they're going for a top tier cast, and they didn't skimp after him, right? They got Pedro Pascal. Like, whoa, Pedro Pascal. Barry Keoghan. They're like Barry Keoghan. They bring back Connie Nielsen, and they're introducing Paul Mescal as Lucius, and he's going to be the focus of this new movie. So they're going to focus on Lucius. Directed again by Ridley Scott. Obviously, everybody pretty much knows Ridley Scott's movie Gladiator, the first one, Blade Runner, Alien, Napoleon that just recently came out. One of my favorite movies that he's ever done, Kingdom of Heaven with Orlando Bloom. I love that movie. He did The Martian with Matt Damon, Black Hawk Down. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Right? This guy's done everything. We got some tidbits about this movie. I'm not saying we have an insider source, but I'm just saying we got some tidbits for this movie that I found out in researching for this. They just finished filming like 2 weeks ago, so it's in the can. They're doing post production, obviously. Not scheduled to come out till November 22nd, so they still got a lot of time between when it's supposed to come out. But the summary of the movie is that the film, according to what I've read, follows Lucius, the son of Maximus' loves Lucia, after Maximus' death at the end of the movie. So it's a continuation, but it's 15 years after. And Lucius has been living, quote unquote, in the wilderness, this is according to Ridley Scott, with no connection with his mother, which now his mother thinks he's dead. So we're finding a Lucius that's left Rome and has really grown up outside of that for the majority of his life now, and he's coming back somewhere near what Maximus's age, I would guess, was in the first movie. So my question is it Lucius who's now the gladiator? And he's going to be the one that's actually going to be in those games for one reason or another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And where does he roll? What's happened to his mother? What's happened to the kingdom in his absence? And why would he feel the need to potentially become a gladiator if his mother is the one that's ruling Rome, or what's ever happened to her? She's in the movie, so interesting. We'll see what happens, but mainly I'm excited because the director returns, and we've got a star-studded cast. And what do they do with that movie now? Potentially, I think that movie surely had a full script. I know that the first Gladiator didn't, and they were at times kind of making up as they went,
Yeah, they were freestyling.
and came up with a great movie at the end of it. So, interested to see what it's going to be. I most anticipated behind Deadpool, just behind. So,
I'll admit I need a trailer first. Like what you read me sounds kind of generic in terms of a synopsis. I need a trailer before I can pass judgment. It's one of the reasons I didn't have it on my list because I knew it was coming out, and of course, I mean, who isn't a Denzel fan? And Pedro Pascal, of course.
right.
But to me, again, this is one of those movies that obviously we didn't ask for this.
Do you like Ridley Scott? That's the
I
question.
like Ridley Scott,
Yeah.
but I mean, we didn't ask for this, and I'm starting to say that. That seems to be a recurring theme for me when I see a new movie come out. It's like we didn't ask for this. And just a quick sidebar: they're already talking about the next Jurassic Park, and it's like why?
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, just this is one of those we didn't ask for.
Yeah.
I like the cast. I just need to see a trailer first before I say anything about it.
And I will, and I do too. I want to see the trailer. It could be terrible, and we just see the trailer. We're like, now we're out, but I doubt it. That would be out. But I will say this: that Denzel Washington, but even maybe to a greater degree, Pedro Pascal has their choice of doing anything they want. Right now. Those two, one obviously one of the greatest actors of all time, the other one being one of the probably the hottest actor right now on the planet. So they can choose any project they want or don't want.
True, true.
And if they both read the script and thought, and they know this director, and they're like, "We'll do it," probably a benefit of the doubt type situation with them. They're going to pick something that's pretty good. Although nobody can pick an absolute winner that they know is going to do well. You think they'd have those two together, have pretty good judgment about potentially what's good. You know what I mean? Whether it comes out good, who knows?
Right.
Okay, next one.
All right. Next one for me is again in no specific order. This movie's called Immaculate. This is, of course, it's going to be a horror film. I had to get there pretty
That's
quickly
why I
on my
didn't
list.
recognize it.
Yeah. Saw the trailer for this maybe a week or two ago. I was on YouTube as I often am, and I came across like the top 20 trailers for 2024 movies that have not been announced yet. And this was on the list, and there's another one on my list that was a part of that compilation of trailers. It's a horror film, like I said. It stars Sydney Sweeney, who is known most from her role on Euphoria, which I hear great things about that show. Everyone tells me it's
Every
a great
young
show.
actor that's going into something big is like, oh, they used to be on Euphoria. Like,
Yeah,
good night.
yeah. But she's been like hypersexualized, like in social media, and they're trying to make her a thing. So I can't really pass judgment on her because I haven't seen Euphoria and I haven't seen anything else she's in. I know she's gonna be in Madam Web, which is not gonna be on this list at all. My dad was just talking to me about this. He's like, "You heard there's a new Spider-Man movie?" I was like, "Hold on. First of all, it's not a Spider-Man movie. It's a Spider-Man universe story." And I had to go through the whole breakdown with him about it. And basically,
You need to do the same with me. I don't know if I quite understand it.
okay, so real quick, and then
We're
you
going
get
to
back
talk about
to-
Madam Web. Holy
well, no,
crap.
just
Okay,
real quick.
okay,
So,
okay.
Sony has the rights to Spider-Man. In order to keep the rights, they have to continue to push out Spider-Man-esque content every so many years, or they lose the rights.
Right.
So they have to keep giving us Venom and Morbius and Madam Web and Craven. This comes out this year, just to keep the rights to Spider-Man. And initially, this movie referenced Spider-Man, like the name was actually said, but they've since removed any mention of Spider-Man in this movie, which is concerning to me. But it's not like this movie was high on my list. It's an all-female cast. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can give me a good story, it doesn't look like a good story. Madam Web, if you're familiar with her character, she can see the future. That's her only power. She can't shoot webs, and she doesn't have all these physical strengths. In the comics, she just sits in a chair. And all of her webs are like different timelines that she can see, and she's blind. And in this movie, Dakota Johnson plays Madam Web, and she's like an EMT, and she discovers she has the ability to see the future.
I think through a life or death situation that she goes through, like she actually dies and comes back, based on what I saw in the trailer.
Just dumb. But anyway, yeah, so the whole point was to go back. Sydney Sweeney's in that. She's the lead actress in this movie, Immaculate. It's a horror film. She plays a nun where she gets selected
Right, is she playing Madam Web in the Madam Web movie?
No, no, no.
Okay,
Dakota
so
Johnson is.
it's one of the girls.
No,
Okay.
Dakota Johnson's Madam
No,
Web.
the Sweeney girl is one of the other three girls.
She's
that
actually one of the
protecting.
spider people. Yeah,
Yes, I got
yeah,
you.
yeah. But she's a nun in this movie, and she gets selected by the Catholic Church to go to this prestigious convent. And basically, what happens is it's a mix of the nun and Rosemary's Baby. So there's a nun there that somehow is with child when they don't know how it happens because nuns they've
Immaculate.
committed their lives to
Immaculate
exactly yeah
conception.
but after that point in the trailer it just goes full on tilt chaos.
Okay.
Lots of demonic
Smash
imagery
cuts
and yeah, that
loud
can't wait.
bangs and
Yep.
surprises. Yeah.
Everything looks very dimly lit. I can't wait. Yep.
Dimly lit.
So immaculate.
Immaculate. All right. My next movie comes out on March the 8th. It is unfortunately an Amazon Prime exclusive. It's not going to be theatrical release, although the director has gone to bat publicly and wrote an op piece in Deadline to say that Amazon messed up it should have been theatrical release. When he agreed to do the movie, I think with MGM, they agreed to do a theatrical release, and then MGM got bought by Amazon or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they switched it. Now it's going to be streaming only, and he's really upset about it. But Doug Liman is the director. The movie is Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal.
That's what I thought you were gonna say when you said Amazon, because I just saw the trailer for this the day it dropped.
Man,
it's recent.
It looks good.
It looks fun.
That's the better word because Conor McGregor's in it, and I'm based on the trailer. It's going to be a rough for anybody who likes acting part of the thing. It might be a little bit rough, but he's going to have the fight curve. It's going to be great. The fight part is going to be awesome.
Well, Jake Gyllenhaal looks amazing in this. Like he commits to a role. He looks jacked. He looks like a UFC fighter.
Yeah, Jake. He just even when he did that slimy news movie. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name now.
That's why I should have wrote it down. Crawler, not web crawler.
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler.
That's what it was. That's an amazing movie, by the way.
Yeah, he looks kind of like he's
He looks
homeless almost.
unhealthy in the face.
Unhealthy
Yeah,
in the face.
yeah.
Yes, gaunt. But I was fixing to say, he's probably looked this good since Prince of Persia. But
Oh, we don't talk about that.
I liked Prince of Persia.
Did you? Of course you
I
did.
did. I love Prince of Persia.
Anything with Disney use right up your alley, huh?
I guess, unless it's animated and I'm out. No, but Jake Gyllenhaal looks good in this movie, but also Conor McGregor's in it, directed by Doug Liman. If you don't know who Doug Liman is, he's directed all my favorite movies, like Born Identity, Edge of Tomorrow, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Like this guy, to me, is one of the greatest directors that doesn't get talked about enough.
Whoa, that's a bold statement.
Well,
Top 10?
for sure.
Top 10?
In my list.
Okay.
Not everyone's. I'm not saying he's the auteur. He's not Spielberg, but he's not Orson Welles, but he's just like he's not Hitchcock, right?
Okay.
But he's of today's directors. He's one of my favorites in the top 10 of today's directors. Absolutely,
Respect it.
maybe top 5.
I respect it.
He just does it. Everything that he does, I like. He just says not one single thing I haven't liked that he's done.
He does it for you, man. He does it just for you.
He does it. He does, and I'm fine with it. All right, so for those of you who don't know Roadhouse is a film, a remake of a film from the 80s that starred Patrick Swayze. It's basically, he was a bouncer, is basically what he is. But in this description of this Roadhouse, it says that Gyllenhaal is a former UFC fighter who takes a job as a bouncer at a rough and tumble roadhouse in the Florida Keys, but soon discovers that not everything is what it seems in this tropical paradise.
Real quick, before you continue, how many synopses have you read over the years where that phrase is not what it seems in there?
Yeah,
50% of movies that
it's part of the summary part of the thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
they just can't sort of summarize a 2-hour thing.
what that tells
into
me
a
is people don't know how to
paragraph.
wrap log lines. You should really
Oh.
focus your craft
Yeah,
and
yeah.
know how to write log lines.
It's only going to get worse, brother, with AI, because AI is going to reuse what everybody's done over years. So
Don't ever mention AI in front of me again, by the way. You know how I feel about
what are you
that.
talking about? AI writes your script.
AI
so
probably
why
wrote
wouldn't
this. They probably wrote this.
Might have.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Might have. Anyway, no, that's pretty much it. So Roadhouse, it looks good. It looks like a fairly faithful remake to the spirit of that movie, and I think
Minus the UFC part.
minus the UFC part. But I think if UFC was as big today as it was back then, they would have used it as an explanator as to why he's able to fight so good. I want to know who is playing the Sam Shepard. Not is it Sam Shepard? Is it the older guy, the mentor?
Oh, I never saw the original.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy that plays. Let me just. I'll stop it there. Because I'm going to just go down a rabbit hole of old movies and I can't remember whose name or what this person was anyway.
You're talking about Sam Elliott, are you?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Sam Elliott.
All
Hey,
right.
yeah, perfect. I want to know who plays that part. I'd like to come in and is the guy who trained. It'd be kind of a Bruce Willis type part or something like that. Some older action actor might be something like that. But or he might not even have a mentor because he was in the UFC. Might not even have him. But I hope that somebody plays that part and does it justice. So anyway, Roadhouse. Looking forward to it coming out here in just a couple months.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited about that movie. It was not on my list, but I'm excited about it because I'm a big Jake Gyllenhaal fan. I don't think I've seen anything he was in that I didn't like.
Ambulance.
I loved it.
Wow.
Again,
A lot of it. I haven't seen it. A lot of people have.
you haven't seen it?
No.
Oh yeah, I think that's also on
Covenant
Amazon.
was recently has been really good.
Covenant was amazing. That was also on Amazon. He must have a deal with Amazon. All of his movies are going to Amazon. No, The Covenant was probably in my top 10 movies of last year. Actually, it was. We talked about that. So yeah, I'm excited about Roadhouse as well. For me, number 4, we're going with Furiosa.
Yeah, I figured you would.
Yeah, is that on your list?
It is not.
Okay, I didn't think so. So see, like I said,
We
only
we
have
know
one.
we're simpatico. We know
Yeah,
each
yeah.
other's taste of it.
But Furiosa is I'm excited about it. Again, this is a movie we didn't ask for, but
Yeah, it's true.
it's a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road that came out in 2015. Now in that movie, that was Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron who played Furiosa. This is Furiosa's origin story. So they went with
How did she
Anya.
lose the arm? That's
Yeah,
the question
this
everybody
is,
wants.
she's gonna be played by Anya Taylor-Joy.
Apparently that name's supposed to mean something because people are like,
Wait, you've never heard of Anya Taylor-Joy?
I've probably seen her and stuff and just haven't connected her name to it. But it's like when they mentioned her name when it connected to this movie, it was like she was this Oscar level that I don't particularly. I just didn't.
Have you never
recognize
seen
her name.
Split, M. Night Shyamalan Split?
No, no.
Did you ever see
This
The
is probably the
Menu?
reason. No, this is probably the reason why I don't recognize her.
And I know you didn't see The Witch. It's a horror film.
No, yes.
Which, by the way, I recently saw that on a reaction channel. Terrified me.
Oh, really?
Just the imagery and the cinematography.
Terrified you. I can't even imagine
Yeah, oh
what
yeah,
it would do to me.
you would sleep with your lights on as a grown man, 100%.
But see, the name, it's just like I just watched something where they said their name and then kind of looked around like people should know who that is, and I'm like, well, I don't recognize that name.
Even though you haven't seen any of her movies, I'm still shocked you don't know who she is.
Well, I watched the trailer and I did a little research on her afterwards
Because in the trailer she has makeup on, so that's not even indicative of how she really looks.
right. But I didn't particularly recognize her after doing even a little research. So, but I just realized it's a film. She's been in films I just haven't seen.
Got it.
Which is like a lot of people. But the name is supposed to be some kind of recognizable thing to me, and I just didn't do that.
All right. Well,
But she's obviously the next like big thing
Yeah.
or something like that.
and
that kind
what
of
I'm also
nature.
excited about with this movie is we get a Chris Hemsworth role.
Oh yeah,
And
in makeup.
I enjoy him in
prosthetics.
anything outside of Thor. I think he shines in other roles better than he does in Thor, and that's not because of his poor performances as the character. That's the way that Marvel's chosen to handle his character because whenever we see Thor, it's a different version of Thor.
So you liked him in Men in Black more than Thor.
I didn't watch that movie because I didn't want to. Okay, let's just put that out there.
I just got
I'm
a
not
little bit of a
I'm
jab.
not a Men in Black fan at all. So how dare you say that? But anything else, anything I've seen him in, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I enjoyed him in. So I'm happy to see him in a great. He excels in gritty roles, and this looks like it'll be another one of
I thought
those.
he was going to be in that mask, but I said that's a different character.
Yeah, it's a different character.
Yeah, so he's a whole new. You don't know what he is.
Whoever he is in this, we
Looks
know
awesome.
he doesn't die because he's also cast in the Fury Road sequel.
Oh,
So there's that.
this is the prequel ish, and there's going to be another
Yeah,
one.
so the sequel, I don't know if it's gonna actually have like the Charlize Theron Furiosa, or are they gonna replace her with Anya Taylor-Joy and bring her back? We don't know anything
look
about that
older
yet.
or whatever.
Yeah, all I know is Chris Hemsworth is in the cast for that. I'm excited, and Tom Hardy as well. So I'm excited to have those two.
Okay.
So Furiosa, boom.
Nice. All right, so my next film. Do we know when Furious is coming out? I want to say June, but
Yeah, I think it's
something like that.
something like that.
Summer. It's a summer film. That's what I think. Maybe.
Right.
All right. So You might know more about this than I do. I don't think a lot of people know about this movie, but you can help me out, I think, on some of it. So, coming out on March the 29th is a movie called Mickey 17. Stars Robert Pattinson, Tony Collette, Mark Ruffalo, Stephen Yin, and it's directed by Bong, and give me if I'm saying this right, Bong John Hu. I'm sure I butchered that, and I apologize.
I think he directed
Parasite.
Parasite. Thank you. Yes,
Parasite, Snowpiercer, The Host is what I knew him from.
great track record.
It does. Special effects, but also deep storytelling
Very.
and atmosphere, a certain atmosphere that he creates for those movies, specifically in Snowpiercer. But everybody who's a film lover knows Parasite. So this is based on a movie. There's not much about this movie out, and it's weird because it's coming out March 29th. No trailer been released yet. The only thing is a little teaser trailer where it shows Robert Pattinson upside down in some kind of a tube. But it is based on a book called Mickey 7.
Okay.
And I was able to get the description, the summary from the book.
Wait, so the book is Mickey 7, the movie's Mickey 17?
Yes, I think, and when I read the synopsis a little bit for you, I think you'd understand
Okay.
a little bit maybe why. But the movie summary that they have out there is a disposable employee is sent on a human expedition to colonize the ice world Niftium. After one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with most of his memories intact. That's what the movie synopsis is so far. But the book synopsis is that this is The Martian meets Multiplicity. Right? Two different movies. The Martian with Matt Damon, Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. Multiplicity is basically a clone comedy from back in the mid 90s. So the book is described as a high concept sci fi thriller in which Mickey 7, an expendable, refuses to let his replacement clone, Mickey 8, take his place. So Mickey 7 is replaced by Mickey 8, and when they presume that Mickey 7 is dead, they make him Mickey 8. When Mickey 7 returns after not being dead, there's a problem because they don't like to have two of the same clone. And that's the premise of the book and presumably of the movie. So Mickey 17 is just probably, they just went down 10 iterations of the clone. It's been cloned instead of 7 times, 17 times. And Mickey 18 is his potential replacement. We'll see. So no trailer, not a lot. We do it. It's based on a book, so we kind of have a pretty hard grasp on the premise. But what we're trusting in is in this director's past history and resume to make this story come alive. You know, it's going to look great. Again, Robert Pattinson right now is in that same vein as Pedro Pascal. He can do any movie he wants after Tenet and all the success that he's had recently. Batman part as well. He can do anything. He's chosen to do this with this director. Super excited. Can't wait to see it.
Okay, I'm excited because of the director and because of some of the names attached, which I know really isn't my thing normally, but I'm going against the grain because, again, the synopsis doesn't really
Do it
work
for you.
me. To me, the whole clone thing, it's going to be a very similar plot every time. You do a clone, something goes wrong with it, they got to fix it.
Kind of reminded me Oblivion with Tom Cruise a bit.
Universal Soldier, a little bit.
Moon from Sam Rockwell.
Oh, I never saw Moon.
Similar vibe.
Okay.
Yep. So March 29th. That's when Mickey 17 is coming out.
All right. Great choice. I saw, I think, the same image you saw of him upside down in a tube. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it was enough to pique my interest. It doesn't take much to get me if you can be creative with what you show me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty creative because not many images look like that.
It might be a little concerning that the fact that we're here at the end of January and we haven't seen a trailer yet for something that comes out in March. But this could be. I don't think Parasite was one of those movies that was just an instant hit.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And Mickey 17 might be the same thing where they're thinking, well, even if we advertise it months out, it's such a niche type feel to it that maybe they wanted a more of a word of mouth type of advertising campaign. But we'll see.
I miss those days, the word of mouth campaign
It
versus.
still happens.
Yeah.
Man.
Just not as often as it used to.
Yeah.
Because now everything's taken over by big budget studios. So everything they spend all this money on the marketing, the press
I
junkets to
don't
get the
think it's
word
just
out.
that. I think it's also there's so much more entertainment available now, whether it's streaming or if it's television or it's movies. So much to watch. Nobody can catch everything.
I got some gripes about streaming, but we're not going to talk about it
Hell,
today.
that's a whole podcast on its own.
Yes, it is. Mickey 17, got it.
All right, so what's next on your list for the most anticipated movies of
We're only at
2020?
number 5. Wow. Okay, so this one is. I know you probably haven't heard of this. Most people listening probably haven't. This movie's called Abigail, and it looks like it's one of those fun, dark comedy thrillers, and it's kind of in the same vein of Ready or Not that had Samara Weaving in it.
That's right.
Yeah, so this is about a group of criminals that get hired to kidnap this little girl locked up in this big castle, and the twist is the little girl is the daughter of Dracula, and I'm very excited about that. So horror, dark comedy, it's gonna be super bloody. So I'm all in.
I'm not locked in here with
That's
you.
all I
You're
needed
locked
to
in
see
with
here.
me.
Yeah, one of those kind of things.
Wow. Okay, good. My next movie coming out on April the 12th is called Civil War.
That's on my list. I can't believe that's on your list. For real?
Civil War was an A24 film, right? It just stars Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons.
Plemons? You know who that is, right? Tell me you know who
Yeah,
that is.
I know his name. I know
Okay.
his face. Plemons. I have it spelled as an I here instead of an L. And Nick Offerman looks like he plays the president of what's America. I don't know. The one in Washington D.C. presumably, but this is directed by Alex Garland. For me, a bit of hit or miss for me.
His
Ex-
ideas are very abstract.
Yes.
And not for everybody.
Ex Machinima,
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. Sorry, I always get
Product
that
of the
wrong.
public school system. I told you.
I said, dude, always get that wrong. That's not the first time I've said that. Annihilation. I like the movie. I like the premise of the movie and the look of the movie.
Weirded you
ending-
out though, didn't it?
Well, yeah, of course. I think it weirds anybody out who
Yeah.
watches this.
It's disturbing, but in a good way.
And then trying to understand it afterwards is a whole YouTube search in itself. Emily, wait, no, sorry, that's not it. Nick Offerman again plays the president. Anyway, Alex Garland, back to him being the director. He also did 28 Days Later, right? And then he did The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Which I know you're not a fan of. That actually was on last night as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Civil War, what is it about? A movie follows a team of journalists who travel across the United States during a radically escalating second Civil War that has engulfed the entire nation. The idea of a U.S. soiled Civil War in modern times has always kind of intrigued me. There was a video game that was about it about a decade or so back that I was really fascinated with. The idea of that the things that are happening that we see happening in other countries would happen in our own backyards is intriguing. Obviously, not something that I'd want to be a part of, but the idea that we're using our own stores and using our own buildings and the streets that we walk in now and all the malls that we have and all the things that consumerism they have now, and then we're switching that into a battlefield is crazy, but also I think would make a great civil movie. But this movie, the premise alone is what I am attracted to. I'm still fearful of what this movie might be. It might fall into the Moonfall type situation.
How so?
This is not an A-list group of actors. The actors in the trailer are people that you recognize from other things, but they're just not. So the fact they didn't get a big name to be in this movie makes me a little fearful about it. Because did they go cheap on the budget? That's why, and then they put all the budget into maybe special effects and whatever, or just that the material wasn't good enough to attract a larger name actor. Or something.
Well, I mean, Alex Garland doesn't normally have big name actors. You talked about 28 Days Later. Nobody knew who Cillian Murphy was at that time. And Naomi Harris was in that. Nobody knew who she was.
Yeah, but The Beach is Leonardo DiCaprio when he was the hottest he's probably
Right
ever
after
been.
Titanic, yeah.
And then Ex Machina, it did have
Oscar Isaac, but nobody knew who he was at that time. And
Yeah.
that was also Alicia Vikander. Nobody knew who she was.
Annihilation, though. It did have a
Yeah.
she was
Natalie
in her
Portman.
prime, probably.
And she's been in the Creed franchise. Tessa Thompson was in that.
yeah, so Tessa Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So that's my concern with it. Is that it's just it comes off like just a slightly better made than maybe something you see on the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day.
I got one for
A
you.
little bit of that, yeah.
Cloverfield.
Well,
No,
Cloverfield.
no A-list stars, and it was an amazing movie.
Yeah, but Cloverfield was it had, and then this might fall in the same category as Cloverfield. You're right, but the niche for that movie wasn't the star of the film was the filmmaking in itself and the monster. The fact that it looked like it was filmed on one of like a phone camera. That was the niche of that movie. So they didn't need stars to make that niche work. Maybe they don't need stars to make the Civil War aspect of it work. But I'm concerned.
Okay.
Still want to see it.
Okay.
And the Jesse Plemons guy,
Oh,
I love
yeah.
him in everything that he's
Yeah.
in. So, but I don't know how big a role that he is in this. But he's the star of the trailer because in the trailer, he's standing over this crew with a gun, and he said, they're like, "Please don't do this. We're Americans." And he goes, "Okay, what kind of Americans are you?"
Well, it sounds to me more
That-
like,
So that
this-
intrigues me.
based on the synopsis, it sounds more like they're going to focus more on the journalists that are trekking across the U.S.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they come across him and his, I guess, faction.
That's what
and probably
that's what it
spend
looks
some time with him.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But the idea of saying that you're in America and then
kind?
having to define that,
Yeah.
that's a
But
pretty
you know
cool
what?
part of the trailer.
So
Just a cool part of the trailer.
what gets me about this, and the reason it's on my list, is I have a high fascination with investigative journalism. Like a lot, I love true crime, and that's all investigative journalism. There's this one docu-series on Hulu called Trafficked, and it's this woman, and she takes her crew all across the globe, and they uncover like the underbelly of the criminal world, from sex trafficking to drugs, guns, whatever you name it. And there's always like an element of danger that comes in that with that career choice. One of my favorite movies of all time is called State of Play, that I mentioned to you before, with Russell Crowe, Helen Mirren, what's Jennifer Lopez's husband, Ben Affleck, and Rachel McAdams. And it's an investigative, political thriller, really good. But this seems like this could be a cautionary tale in terms of the times we live in. Like, I'm of the belief that we're always one or two bad years away from something like this actually becoming a reality, and there's something scary about knowing that that's how close we are from something like that. Like a few pockets of pivotal things going one way or the other. Kind of like the Joker's whole thing was, telling Batman you're one bad day away from being me. It's a very famous comic storyline. There's a line he says in the comic, but I feel like America's always one bad year away from something like this happening. Like, I don't think it's that far fetched, and I'm really drawn to movies that involve investigative journalism and a semblance of this could happen if dot dot dot. It also reminds me of The Purge. So it's like The Purge, but in this movie it's happening 24/7, every day, all day, not just for 8 hours, one day a year.
I think, based on the trailer, though, I don't think their focus is going to be the investigative part of it.
I know.
I think it's a vehicle just for you to be a passenger on to. It appears like they're trying to travel to Washington, D.C. through a Civil War torn America.
For a specific reason.
Through the South for
Yeah.
some reason. I'm not sure why they're
Why would
starting
you
in
do
the
the
South.
South? Oh
I
my
don't know.
gosh.
But that would presumably be the most independent territories there. So that you're just going to be like along for the ride with them to witness what's happening. But I don't think they're quote unquote trying to be investigative. It seems to me like they're just trying to survive to get to the Washington D.C. And what they find there is going to be maybe the little twisty A24 part that we're used to getting. So
I will say, if that ever pops off, I'm moving to the north ASAP. Because looking like the way I look, I ain't going to survive very long down here, let me tell you.
you never know. You never know. There might be actually more people on your side of than you think.
Not in this state, though, but in my side,
Maybe.
yes.
Well, look, how many? What is the actual ratio of? And I'm not just. I know this is going way off topic, but I wonder what the ratio of. I guess it would be just non-white people to white people is the separation. If you including all races outside of white,
That's
could
true.
it be more Hispanic people here than there are
Right.
actual white people? So that could be the thing. You know what I mean? Like, you might be actually better here than somewhere else if all if replacing all people of one color on one side and all
Right,
white on the other side.
right.
Potentially,
And
potentially.
I think in this state we have all the guns.
Yeah, we do. We do have a lot.
Everything we have everything in
Yeah,
Texas. So
it's mutual assured destruction. That's what keeps us safe, which is weird. That's just so weird.
it is.
Okay, so my next movie is.
Whoa! Didn't Civil
Oh, I
War was
thought.
your
Oh, I
choice?
thought. Well, it was on
It's
both
on
of
my
ours.
list, but you
Okay.
covered it.
Sorry, my bad. Because you had such an eloquent and extensive ending there, I thought we were talking about your movie. So yeah, my bad. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, that's
To
true.
your next horror film.
Okay, actually, it's kind of horror. It's more psychological thriller. So almost good guess. This movie's called Monolith, which is a word I'm not really
Monolith.
used to, but I've recently been hearing on other podcasts, and I like it. But this is a psychological thriller that stars Lily Sullivan. Lily Sullivan, her breakout role would have been in Evil Dead Rise that came out in 2023. So it's kind of sticking in that same psychological horror thriller.
She's been typecast, man.
I mean, yeah, but you know, a lot of up and coming actresses and actors they
Start.
start out there and they break out, boom. So hopefully that happens for her because I think she's a brilliant actress. In Evil Dead Rise, she has an American accent, and this she has a British. So I'm not sure if she's British or not. I would assume she is. I know a lot of British actors can pull off American accents way better than we can pull off theirs. So yeah, but in this movie, she is again she's a journalist, but she's a disgraced journalist. We don't know why. We don't know what happened. There's something in her backstory that I think is going to unfold as the movie unfolds, and we get the backstory there. But she chooses to like go into this secluded cabin and she starts to record a podcast. And over the course of time recording this podcast, she uncovers this like this ancient looking artifact, a monolith, and somehow it has ties to. She discovered it has ties to like an alien conspiracy, and some psychological stuff happens where we don't. It's just her in this trailer. We don't see anybody else. Really, we hear other voices. If you look at the cast list, everybody else is listed as like a voiceover or like not seen actors. So I'm really interested. If you can give me a movie where you put one or two actors in one place for 90 minutes and you can give me a great story, I'm all the way in. And this looks like one of those.
All right. Monolith. I hadn't heard of it. I'm going to to watch that trailer.
It's gonna probably freak you out. But
Oh.
anything alien conspiracy, I'm gonna sign
You're
up for
down to that?
100%.
All right. Mine's compared to that one. Mine's just a pop summer fun fest. May the 3rd. I can't wait to see the Fall Guy. Obviously, I'm an '80s kid, so I watched the TV show. And
That was Lee Majors.
Lee Majors, yes, very good. And then this one, playing the Lee Majors part, is Ryan Gosling, and then Emily Blunt playing his love interest as a film director. He's a stuntman.
I love movies about making movies.
Yeah, and I think they're going to go full tilt on that, especially with an action film.
Yeah.
So we're going to see all these crazy stunts.
Well, you're probably gonna get to it. I'll let you get to it. Sorry.
Aaron Taylor Johnson's also in this movie. This is directed by David Leitch,
That's where I was going with it.
who you'll know his films Bullet Train. He was a producer on the original John Wick, Atomic Blonde. He
Love
directed
Atomic
that.
Blonde.
Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw. So very versed in the action.
High octane.
Summary of this movie: after leaving the business 1 year earlier, battle-scarred stuntman Colt Seavers springs back into action when the star of a big studio movie suddenly disappears, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. As the mystery surrounding the missing actor deepens, Colt soon finds himself ensnared in a sinister plot that pushes him to the edge of a fall more dangerous than any stunt. Not a bad summary there.
It definitely reads like a summer flick.
It is, and it is. It is
Yeah.
straight summer popcorn, inside baseball, kind of a deal. Not baseball per se, but inside the movie industry, and we're going to get a lot of great action scenes, a lot of probably over the top. It looks like over the top action scenes, but seems like a lot of fun. And then coming off of Barbie, which I can't believe has been nominated for so many different Oscar things, and him for Best Actor and all of these things.
Did you see I guess there's controversy about it because of all the people involved with that movie. He's the only actor nominated for that movie. Margot Robbie wasn't. Greta Gerwig's not been nominated as Best Director.
Right.
It's been a huge. And then people will say, well, it's funny that that's happening because this is kind of what the movie is about. I guess I didn't see it. There's a very big America Ferrera's in that movie. She makes this big speech,
I
basically
think she
talking
got
about
nominated
that,
for something.
and she won. I think it was the Critics' Choice Awards. I watched that one monologue on YouTube. It's a great monologue. But I think it's just funny that he's being nominated and highlighted more than Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig. And people are saying like this movie wouldn't exist without the two of them, and they're not being recognized for their contributions. So it's one of those things. I didn't see it, so I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and I don't get the hype either. It just has a. I think if you would have told us before the movie came out that Barbie would get Oscar considerations, people would have laughed in your face. Like it is not a subject matter typically that Oscar would go for. Just right like right now, the Oscars in superhero movies. Like
Yeah.
they're the same type situation. People were like, Robert Downey Jr. should get nominated for Iron Man, or what about Christian Bale for Batman, or they gave it to
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger for the
Yeah,
Joker.
they did.
And so that should have maybe cracked the door a bit on that. But anyway, back to the Fall Guy here. It's just basically the idea, just like in the television show, is that just a stunt man who, in there at that point, got in his kind of version of a procedural, and it was just kind of him solving problems for people every week using stunts to kind of help him solve those issues. And it looks like it's going to be a super adrenaline-packed version of that.
I'll say this, and then we can move on to the next thing if you want. But Ryan Gosling is probably in my top 10 favorite actors right now. But I want to see less of him, if that makes sense. Like once a year, I think is enough. But because we're still kind of coming off that Barbie train, which has happened not even a year ago. He's winning awards for that movie now, so his name's still going to be at the top of people's social media feeds and news outlets. And I think he has another project coming out later this year. Also, I forgot the name, but I came across it in researching my list for this, and I'm always concerned with audience to actor relationship burnout. Like you see too much of them. It's kind of the same thing with, I guess, with comic book burnout. Like you see so much of it. I think people are starting to say now that's the reason why.
Oversaturation.
Yeah, that's the state we're in with comic books. There's so many of them, and with Ryan Gosling, we saw him in a huge movie last year. This will probably be a big hit, and he's got something else coming out this year. I'm afraid there's going to be too much, and I think when you see too much of something, it lowers the stock.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that part of it. But I also would say, an actor's got to take advantage of one, his prime, her prime, and two, they've got to also take advantage of, like the options that they have to make smart choices. But I think they got to be in as much stuff as they can, as quickly as they can, because they have a shelf life. That's the unfortunate thing. Seemingly, actresses more than actors for physical reasons, I guess. But we're seeing that extended for some of these great actresses, which is great. But yeah, it's like going from the young female role, the young man role, into the middle-aged kind of role, and then suddenly your mothers and fathers and things. It's like it's a really quick. So I argue I'd just rather see the great actors in as many things as possible. Because it's going to be hit or miss. It's going to be Nicolas Cage. It's going to be 2 bad movies and a good one, and 2 bad movies and a good one. But the alternative is that it's 1 movie a year, and if it's a bad movie, could ruin their career.
Right.
So I say I'm kind of the opposite. I want to see him in everything that he can possibly be in. And if you're getting tired of Ryan Gosling, it might be because he's playing a similar role and he's not playing a more diverse role or a totally different kind of movie.
And that was my next stake. My next point was the next movie he does after this. I'd like to see more indie.
No blonde hair. How about that? Or
No blonde hair.
This is like blonde tips.
Go more indie. Give me
Half Nelson.
a dramatic story. Yeah, I want to see your acting chops, not your physical. And we know you can do the physical stuff.
Right.
We know you're funny now because we've seen the other guys with him and Russell Crowe, which I love. But let me see you go back to your roots and give me something indie.
So yeah, do
Gritty.
more diverse choices back to back.
Yeah.
so it doesn't feel like the characters are
Because
connected.
I have a hot take. I think there's a world where this movie flops. I can see it. Because it's almost so generic, and nobody knows who the Fall Guy is unless you're our age or older. I can
Yeah.
see a world where this flops.
The saving grace is Ryan Gosling.
Yeah,
That's the saving grace of the movie.
and I mean I'll give props to Emily Blunt too. I think she's a big draw on her own. I think she is.
Yeah, I would, and I kind of feel like there's a mispairing there of those two. I'm wondering. It looks like they're good on film together, but I know that she's a little bit older than him. It seems like she's a bit older than him, and so it feels a little mismatched there. But and so we'll see how it goes. But to me, yeah, she's not the big draw of this movie. She's just the kind of the character actor part. She's not. There's one lead in this movie. It's Ryan Gosling. So in my eyes, but maybe that'll change when I see the movie.
Right.
But no, Ryan Gosling gets the young people who've never heard of the Fall Guy into the seats, and the Fall Guy gets the old guys in the
True.
movies. So it's a good combination for them. That's why I don't think it's going to be a miss. May not hit expectations, but I don't think
I
it's
guess that's what I meant to say is because when you bring in the Fall Guy crowd, they're gonna look at this and say, "This is not the Fall Guy I know,"
yeah.
and then they're gonna bash it. They're gonna say this was horrible. Like, we need to stop making movies to please certain demos. Just put out a good story. Just put out, give me some great acting. Put the money where it needs to go, and give me a great story. I don't care when it comes.
Yeah.
I wish we would stop making the summer blockbusters only in the summer. You can put it out whenever you want. I feel like movies are made to meet a certain deadline. I think that's why a lot of movies fall short too, because you're forcing yourself to make a deadline, and the movie's not complete the way it could be.
I think it may be more of a regional weather school thing. Kids are out of school in the summer. That means more opportunities to see films.
Yeah,
It's the summer. The weather's better for people to go out and watch films. Summer's hot. People want to go inside to do activities. They want to play putt-putt or play golf in 100-degree weather. They want to go inside to see movies. So what you're doing is you're maximizing your profits by putting it at a time when people are most available to go inside.
I guess I'm only selfishly thinking from my perspective. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. It's just me. I can go at Wednesday at 10 o'clock at night if I
It's all
want.
motivated by money.
It is, and it is.
It
But
is.
at the end of the day, for me, they're gonna get my money whether it's January or whether it's July.
So why do the worst movies come out in January and February? Because everybody's snowed in up north, or the weather's bad, school's restarted.
I have another theory.
It's post holidays. Yes.
I think it can be all some of those things, but I also think I call January the dump job season. There were so many other movies that came out the year prior. We didn't have a spot for this to go up and make its maximum financial dollar amount. Everything else that came out last year is like, well, where can I put this movie that's probably going to maximize its potential? Well, I can't put it here because this movie comes out. Well, this weekend has already got 2 other movies with big stars in it.
Right.
So where does the movie fit? Well, let's just leave it in January, and whoever sees it sees it. Like we talked about The Beekeeper off mic today.
Right.
That movie was not marketed, really.
Yeah, not really. No.
But people that I'm hearing that I know have seen it, including
Word of
you,
mouth.
said they enjoyed it.
I did. It has become that, but that is a result of those movies of a poor product coming out in January, February. So people are like, okay, I can either put my movie up against a big tentpole movie, or I can go up and put it in January against these lower ended movies, and then maybe I can rise to the top on top of those because there's nothing else to watch.
Right.
But that system was, I think, initially put in place because January and February is typically kids are going back to school. The weather's bad. It's snowing up north. You know what I mean? We don't experience it here down here, but up north, so it's harder to get to the theaters. People don't have any money after Christmas. They've spent all their money, so they're not they're doing extra stuff, fun stuff like going to the movies at that time. I think that all generated the conditions to make January, February into March a bit of kind of the lull season for movies. And then post that, people have gone in and discovered you can have successful earnings with a kind of a mid-review movie. It can be a really great received movie because you can put it at that time against nothing.
Right.
But the nothing was created based off of summer stuff and the winter stuff.
True.
So, okay, you're next because that was Fall Guy.
That's Fall Guy. Okay, so My last three are very, very, very obscure.
Okay.
Like I had to really dig through the crates to get to these three to finish out my list. It's like I said before, to get those last three in for me.
Yeah, I got three left
Are
too.
usually a struggle. So we start off with a movie called "You'll Never Find Me," which is it. It could be a myriad of things. It's for in terms of what this movie is about. I watched the trailer. This was a part of the compilation of trailers that I watched a few weeks ago. No stars in this. The trailer only shows two people. Again, it's one of those one setting movies. At least it seems like to be that way.
I love those movies because I always thought as an indie filmmaker that would be the perfect way to get in.
I agree, 100%. I agree, and it speaks to me because my first short film I directed was one location. So when I see these, it always makes it. It sounds soft to say, but it warms my heart to see other filmmakers trying to be creative because you could do so many things with one location. I mean, obviously your script has to be tight, has to be dynamic dialogue to keep people engaged. But yeah, You'll Never Find Me. It's about this guy who's basically like just bunkered down in this old mobile home during this violent storm, this thunderstorm. Gets a knock at the door, and there's this strange woman there, and she's just like, "I'm just trying to get out from this storm. Can I just, stay in here until the storm passes?" Reluctantly, the guy lets her in, and as the story unfolds, they both begin to realize things are off about the other person. Like things are not as they seem. It's one of those stories. It applies to the male and the female character in this story. And towards the end, we get a loud knock at the door, and the tension and the mood changes in the trailer. And the guy's like, "Did you tell somebody you're coming here? Is somebody looking for you?" And she kind of gets this sinister smile on her face, and yeah, it fades to black.
Oof.
So we don't really know what's going on. So You'll Never Find Me. In this case, I think it could apply to both characters. We just, as an audience, don't know why yet.
Okay.
But it's enough of a mystery and a question mark
Yeah,
stamp that it's like, I want to see this. Now, this
I
movie
want the answer to the movie. That's
yeah, I
right.
want the answer, and it better not be something stupid. But
That's right.
Looking at the trailer, I doubt this even gets a theatrical release.
Okay.
So probably gonna catch it somewhere on VOD. But I'll be looking for it.
All right. All right. This movie you're going to be able to catch anywhere because it's going to be massive. This is huge. This might potentially be the biggest movie of the
Bigger
year.
than Dune 2?
No, I don't know. Maybe. Well, you be the judge after I tell you what it is. June the 7th, the John Wick spinoff Ballerina, and it is in the trailer. It is heavily already shown. Keanu Reeves is a big part
Wait.
of this
The
movie.
trailer's already out?
Yes,
How did I miss the trailer?
2 weeks ago.
Really?
This
Are you
stars.
sure it wasn't like a fake trailer?
No, this was all the. It was them.
Okay.
Maybe what? Maybe I got fooled. Now you made me
Because
question it.
was Ana de Armas in the trailer?
Yeah,
And it really was her?
yeah.
Interesting.
I hope I didn't get
I don't know
fooled.
how I
Now
missed
I'm
that.
trying to think that I might get fooled. We'll
I've been waiting for
double
this trailer.
check me.
All right.
Double check me. We'll double check after the show and we'll amend it if it is. But no, I saw the trailer. It's going to star Ana de Armas,
Love her.
which she was probably I think she best known for.
No Time to Die. She had a great sequence with Daniel Craig. She was also in The Gray Man.
Ghosted is the one I referred to with Chris Evans.
Yeah.
I watched that on Apple. It might not have been the greatest movie to people, but it showed her action chops
Mm-hmm.
in that movie. She can pull off this John Wick thing. She's that good. But no, I was thinking of Knives Out. That might be what
That's
she's
her
best
biggest
known
role,
for.
yeah. And she played Marilyn Monroe in a Netflix movie.
Okay. Ballerina stars her, Keanu Reeves, Chloe Grace Moretz, Lance Reddick.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. He filmed his part of it before he passed away, so he'll be in this movie. Norman Reedus, Gabriel Bryan, they're in this movie as well. Directed by Lynn Wiseman, a man that Mike loves for his numerous direction.
Let's go. Let's
direction
go.
Of his wife
Let's go.
in the movies, all the Underworld
Underworld,
movies.
yes, sir.
He also made the Total Recall remake.
Also had Kate Beckinsale.
Kate Beckinsale is his wife.
Yeah.
Or was his wife.
They're divorced now.
Okay. But she was the star of all the Underworld movies. He also did Live Free or Die Hard with Bruce Willis.
You know what? Highly underrated.
It is.
Movie.
It's actually pretty good. Timothy Olyphant is really good in that movie. Summary of this movie, really quick. A young female assassin seeks revenge against the people who killed her family. Really easy, quick, one sentence. But basically, what it is, it's a. I don't even want. It's not even a female John Wick. It is because John Wick's in the film, but she's a fellow assassin. It's called The Ballerina. It comes out June 7th. I think it's going to absolutely destroy at the box office. So
So you think it's going to be a big hit?
I think because they're marketing it based on the trailer that I saw, but we'll see if that's true or not. Heavy with Keanu Reeves. Like it is more than just a simple cameo. It's like it's a big part of it.
Here are my thoughts on that. Again, I haven't seen this trailer that you saw because I've been looking for it, so it's weird that it's escaped me. But the thing is, I remember when the second Flash trailer dropped, Michael Keaton heavy. Movie flopped. Now, there's different reasons for why that movie flopped, and that's, we can just argue tomato on that. But in this case, obviously Keanu Reeves is going to help get people in the seats to see this, because I think a lot of people are still not sold on Ana de Armas as able to carry an action movie. But I feel like he's going to play the Halle Berry role the way she did it in part 3. She'll have that extended sequence where they meet, they have conversation, then there's an extended fight, and it'll be amazing, and then he'll be out. Because this is, I guess, we don't know where in his world this is happening, what franchise, what movie. But I think he'll be in for an extended sequence. It'll look amazing. And you'll see the two of them fight side by side. You'll get your John Wick stuff, and he's gone. And then it's just her the rest of the way. But adding Norman Reedus is a good thing, I think.
And it's not just, that's the thing, it's not just a John Wick, Keanu Reeves cameo. It's also got all the main cast from the John Wick movies. So, I mean, you've got Lance Reddick, you've got Gabriel O'Brien, you've got the people that run the Continental. That's part of that. The female Russian
Angelica
mob boss,
Houston. Yes, because she's the one over the ballerina, so that makes sense.
She's a part of the movie as well. So it's not just John Wick. The biggest part of it, obviously, John Wick, but it's every other major character from John Wick the movies. I think that's going to help carry it too. So basically, anybody who still wants to scratch that John Wick itch in 2024, they're only going to have the ballerina to do that.
Right.
And right in the prime of summer. So
I wouldn't be shocked if they try to throw in a little tag at the end to show John Wick is still alive.
Oh, yeah. I don't know when this is, in the timeline. But
they could always do a time jump towards the end.
They could.
To tease John Wick 5.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if this is post John Wick 4 or pre. It would seem to make sense. It's going
to be pre because Lance Reddick is. Spoiler.
That's right. You're right. Yeah. It is pre. It has to be pre. Yeah. So that's good because it doesn't have to answer the question about John Wick's status.
And don't get me wrong. It might sound like I'm arguing against the success of this movie. No one's happier about this than I am.
We're arguing all of our movie choices, so it's no big deal.
And I actually hope it does well for her sake, because I actually think she doesn't get the credit she deserves as just her acting chops and her physicality too. Because you talked about No Time to Die and the other movie you mentioned where she played a physical role. Ghosted. But for me, I thought she pulled it off in The Gray Man. I thought she held her own in a few of those fight sequences, one-on-one with the assassin character. So I'm looking forward to this, 100%.
Me too. That's June 7th. So coming up in about 4 or 5 months.
Can't believe it.
Last two.
This one's heavy on the names, and so this is to go back to what I said earlier about I tried to go against that, but this one I couldn't deny it. This is a thriller. It stars Brad Pitt and George Clooney. So I was sold just off of that. This movie's called Wolves, not Wolves, which is weird.
Right. This is on my list too.
Oh, really? Okay. You're trying to steal off of me. Okay.
No, you said obscure, but Brad Pitt and Clooney, not too obscure. It's fine. And this Amy Adams as well. Amy Ryan.
Amy Ryan's in it. She's great.
She was Gone Baby Gone, Oscar nominated for that.
And this movie is Brad Pitt and George Clooney both play fixers, and they get hired to complete the same job. Yep. And the only thing I've seen is just a poster of them in a car together. That's all I've seen.
That's the movie I saw the B-roll on. So they were filming in New York.
Okay.
Actually filming on location in New York in the snow, recreating snow. So it gives you a sense of kind of the atmosphere of the movie. It's going to be a wintry New York, ice, heavy coats, weather.
There's no time in New York that's better than a winter snow-covered New York.
And this is September 20th scheduled release. So
that's a good spot.
Yeah.
It's a good spot.
So right in that fall turning into winter type. Yeah. Don't know much about this movie
at
either.
all.
Directed by John Watts.
Yeah.
Did all the Spider-Man, recent Spider-Man movies, did Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home.
I'm curious to see what he does with uh, more adult themes and
Yeah,
content.
and then to come out with Clooney and Brad Pitt
Yeah.
as your like first thing after Spider-Man, three Spider-Man. Like when he finished the last Spider-Man, which was arguably his best Spider-Man, Far From Home, No Way Home. After he did that movie, they were like trying to sign him to do more Marvel movies. From what I understand, I think he was actually signed or to be signed for Fantastic Four, but got out of it
Yeah.
because he wanted a break from the superhero movie. And then to come right back with a Clooney Pitt movie is big get, man.
For sure.
But I hope it's not a digression, kind of like what we saw with the Russo brothers after their Endgame run. And then they went to do, I think it was 4 bridges or 5 bridges.
21 Bridges.
21 bridges.
You didn't like that movie?
Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
No, I didn't really. I don't know why.
Well, you know
it
what?
didn't resonate with me.
It was that movie was smaller in scale. That was dedicated to just New York.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Marvel movies are globetrotting all over the place.
Yeah.
Larger than life characters. This is very realistic.
It is. It might have been, but I still want it to be intriguing characters, intriguing story.
The Gray Man was the Russo brothers. You didn't like that?
I didn't watch that.
You never seen The Gray
I
Man?
have not. No. But
Ladies and gentlemen, this will be our last episode.
no, because I was told it wasn't good, so I was like, okay, I'm going to stick away from it. There's too many other things to watch. To watch something that's
Okay.
that's universally panned.
Honor the Artemis is in. I just talked about it. Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. Go watch that.
That's
today,
what I'm
please.
concerned about. Now we've got a movie with Brad Pitt and George Clooney, big names like you just rattled off, and I just hope there's not a similar result of okay, it's a kind of a downward. Like the Russos, when it comes to superhero movies, they're locked in. They're like, oh, okay, they can do great superhero, and they try to do something outside of that scope because they want to stretch their legs and not be stuck in the superhero movies. And they've got all the resources, they've got all the great actors, and they can't come out with a successful movie. Whether some people like it, absolutely, sure, you might be one of the ones that like that movie, but universally, it just seems like none of those movies the Russo brothers have done after Endgame have even neared the heights of what would be considered to be just even a popular movie. Nonetheless, one of the movies that makes the most amount of money in ever. And
I think that also speaks more to the idea that comic book movies have like overrun Hollywood, but that's a whole different conversation.
Well, it's maybe not. And to me, it's maybe the directors who direct those kind of movies have success in those kind of movies for a reason, whether it's a personal quality in them or something they're particularly really good at when it comes to those movies. But none of them want to be there. They want to be something else. They want to be Oscar nominated. They want to be, Scorsese, or they want to be something that's where they want. They don't want to do these peddly superhero films anymore. They want to do something more legit. But then when they go to try to go do the legit things, they can't find success over there for one reason or another. I don't know what that reason is. That's my concern with this. John Watts has so much success in the Spider-Man movies. He found a niche. He scratched that itch, and he did a great job doing it. And his last one he did was the best of the 3, in my opinion. Now he's going to go try to do something with Clooney and Pitt. He's got all the running resources he wants to do whatever he wants to because he got his past success. But now can he make a good movie that isn't reliant on a fan base that's built in?
Well, we shall see.
We'll see. That's my concern with it, with Wolves. That was your movie, so I'll let you finish up what you.
The last one, again, there's not much on this. There's a cast list out, but I'm the only person I remember off the cast list is Bill Skarsgård, who's played Pennywise. He was in Barbarian that came out last year, which was actually really good. Maybe been 2 years ago. It's always called Nosferatu. It's just a remake of the classic
Dracula.
Yeah,
story.
and so I'm down for that. Like I want to get back to. The further away we can get from glistening vampires in the daylight, the better. So having Abigail and Nosferatu this year, I'm excited.
Okay. My last film now that's on my list. I really struggled with this one because I went through a couple of the top list of other sites. I went through Rolling Stones just to see what they had, see what mine compares to theirs, and then maybe found some hidden gems on there. And I really, dude, I had a hard time finding movies I was super excited about that would make my top 10 list. I initially went with Argyle, with the Matthew Vaughn. I like the Kingsman movies that he's done in the past.
The trailer looks just like a Kingsman movie. Looks just like it.
Yeah, and I like the Kingsman, the first one, and then the second one I was okay, and then he did the prequel, which I couldn't even get through. So a bit of hit or miss on that. And then the synopsis of the Argyle movie, with it being similar to something that we've already had before with Sandra Bullock and Channing
Channing
Tatum,
Tatum, yeah.
which was like an author's what they're writing is coming to life. With kind of a twist on that. So I was already lukewarm about it, but the fact that it had Henry Cavill in it kind of was intriguing to me.
With a very like 80s European haircut.
Yeah. But I was still, I was just really lukewarm on the fence about it. And then I discovered today a movie I'd forgotten about because nobody's heard anything about it since I hadn't even seen anything from it. But I'm more excited about this movie, just its potential, than I am about Argyle. And that movie is coming out right in the sweet spot of big tentpole movies. July the 9th. Like, that's right after Independence Day. That's when all the top movies come out. Typically, that want to make a lot of money because they're going to get the biggest crowds. But I haven't seen anything about this movie. But the premise of it and the fact that it's based on a previous movie makes me think that it might do okay, pretty well. And the fact they put it on July 9th means the studios have a lot of faith that it might do pretty well. Twisters.
Oh my gosh.
See how that build up I gave you? I knew.
That was great, but then you let me
I know. Well, like I said, that's why it's the last one on my list for a reason. I love the first original Twister movie. I think a lot of people do. Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, Philip Seymour Hoffman. A lot of people forget that he's in that movie. Carrie Ells in that movie as well. Ells. Is that how you say it?
Ells, Yules, I never know.
Elwes, Ells. Basically it's a tornado tracing movie. It's an update to the 1996 Twister movie centered on a pair of storm chasers who risk their lives to attempt to test an experimental weather alert system. This one's starring Glenn Powell, who's pretty hot right now with the Top Gun stuff.
But I'm not sold on him yet.
I am. I think he's good. And I think Hollywood thinks he's the hottest thing, or one of the hottest things.
You know
right
what?
now,
Speaking of that, I was earlier talking about Sydney Sweeney, how they're trying to make her the thing.
Yeah.
They were in a movie together recently, like a rom-com.
Yeah. I've seen that. I didn't realize it was her, so that's good. At least I've seen her in a trailer. Daisy Edgar Jones, which I looked up. I don't recognize her from anything that she's done before. Anthony Ramos.
I like him.
Maura Tierney. She's in it. Now, the biggest question mark for this movie for me, but it's an action flick, is the director is Lee Isaac Chung, who his best known thing that I could search on his IMDb was he directed an episode of The Mandalorian, season 3, episode 3, called The Convert. And I don't know if you've seen The Mandalorian, but that particular episode, there's a lot of action in that. So it gives me a little bit more faith that he can direct action, which all the Twister really is.
Okay.
It's going to be action scenes. I don't know if this is a real poster for the movie or not, but the poster on it showing cows in the air, I don't know if it's true or not.
I hope it's fake.
If they bring back the flying cow, that'll be a nod to the old one. But the thing about this, it's just that, look, I had to find something. Argyle was the thing that I found. I didn't really kind of lukewarm about it. Twisters, at least the premise of it, it's got Glenn Powell in it. I like him. But he's not the star. It's the tornadoes. It's going to be the special effects. So if it's a special effects, mainly that's the star of the movie, but it can build. They want to build on what they did in the first one. If they can take it to the next level without going over the top and jumping the shark with the tornadoes, but if they can just build on the action that was in that movie, if you think about it, that was action packed. It'd be tornado and then a little bit, and then tornado and a little bit. And it was in a climatic ending where they're driving through a house and they finally can get the thing up in the tornado and all that, and a love story all in the boot. If they can get all that in it, and the fact that it's July 9th that they've selected to put this movie out, which is a big staple of they believe in it, that's going to make a lot of money.
It's going to flop.
Potentially. It's on the end of my list.
I would put money on that right now. That's 6 months away from release, 7 months away. I'll put money on it now that it flops.
Well, what do you consider to be flop? Is it just didn't make his money back?
I think they probably break even. That's probably about it. Maybe a little more over. But, Hollywood sees a movie successful as I think it's three times the budget.
Yeah,
They're not getting that.
they didn't need a big time star in a tornado movie. If you know what I mean, like they got Glenn Powell, it's good, not a superstar, up and comer in a lot of the eyes of the Hollywood people, but the star of the show is the twisters and what they do with it. Trailer's going to determine, I think, a lot of it. We
The
just gotta
first
wait
one,
to
the
see the
story was
trailer.
great.
It was, but the star of the show was still it wasn't
Yeah, but
Helen
the
Hunt.
chemistry between Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton was off the charts,
At
and
the
that has to
time,
be there
Bill
too.
Paxton wasn't a big, huge, you know, it's not the biggest leading man in Hollywood or whatever. And Helen Hunt was come off mad about you.
Everybody loved that show.
Yeah, but I mean, she could be on a television show we don't even know about. You know, she could be Euphoria. Probably
She's not. I can guarantee that she's not. I recognize the name. She's
I
not.
recognize the name too, but you know, so they're just the movie. In these kind of movies, the movies make the actors, not the actors making the movies. So you know, if it's, being a big budget film is going to help them again their career more. So
But listen, I just want to.
I'm really throwing you off with this.
No,
Twisted
because I
thing.
want to close. I want to close this. And
You are. You got the
no,
last one.
no.
Right?
I mean, I want to close the episode.
Oh, just now.
Yeah, we've talked these things out, and I want to get to these points before I forget because my brain is bad. And I just want to say, like, these were some really good lists, some really good movies on both lists.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we went the route we did, whereas you went more popular mainstream, I went more obscure, indie unknown. But it also, to me, kind of says, like, even my list and yours, I'm not seeing anything on here that's like gonna just blow any movies away. Like, to me, we're still suffering from the after effects of COVID and the writer's strike, the actor's strike. It just seems like there's gonna be a lot of gaps in between the year between some of these movies. And I think a lot of the movies on your list and on mine, I think we're gonna see them and we're gonna come back and reconvene and say this movie didn't meet expectations. I
Always
feel like
does.
that.
Always, every year.
Yeah.
There's always ones that don't meet
So
expectations.
we're 4 years into really like movies still not fully being back yet.
And we can actually do this. I bet we can go back even further. And we'll our most anticipated list that we made every year for a long time. I still have some of those. Go back and go read them, and we could probably do the same thing. We'll go over them. Like, oh, that was a flop. Oh, that was terrible. Oh, this. And at this point, it's just the most anticipated movies mean the most hyped movies on our mind.
Well,
Have
for
the
me,
potential to be good.
I
Right?
don't remember anything pre 2020 because for me, I died and was reborn in 2020. So I'm still kind of fresh.
Amen. Born again, brother. Amen. No, I think we have a bit of rose-colored glasses about that. I think every year it's the same, and what's this year's going to be no different is that there are going to be movies that are on our list that meet our expectations. There's going to be probably majority of them are going to be mid or low or below our expectations, right? And then there's going to be movies that are not on our list that we're going to love because we haven't heard enough about them, we haven't seen a trailer, or nobody's talked about them yet. And they're going to be, when we come back and do our 2024 list of best movies of the year, I would say maybe 3 out of these 10 might even make that movie.
30%.
That's par for the course every
Yeah,
year. You know what I mean?
30%. I'm not mad at that.
What's your last movie?
I did it. It's
Oh,
Nosferatu.
Oh, we didn't talk about it though.
There's nothing to say.
Oh.
There's nothing to say. All I know is Bill Skarsgård's involved, and I'm happy we're getting back to more gritty, terrifying vampires. Like,
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
to see sharp teeth. I want to see a lot of blood.
There's not enough
I
information
don't
about
want
it.
to. Yeah,
No trailers. No.
I don't want to see a love story. Like, there's no love in my life, so I don't want to see that on screen. Come on.
But some of our proud folks at home do have a love of their life, and maybe that'll.
Well, they can. Let me stop. I don't want to get in trouble, man. So
Well, that was a perfect wrap up of, again, we think there's going to be some of these movies we're going to love, some of them we're going to hate, some of them, I think majority of them we're going to feel mid about. And that's just how it goes every year, you know what I mean? And yeah, I think you're right that the post-COVID, the
strike.
post-strike, but also, we're freaking old men sometimes, and
Who? Not me.
we don't we long for yesteryear and the movies of long ago, and we think back to the 90s and whatever, in the early 2000s when the movies were movies and they had all these awesome, but movie making is a process. Taste change, times change, and
I have to
with
work.
that,
I
some
have
of
to
our
work
movies-
really hard to come up with unique stories for my list. It's very hard to do now.
Well, and part of it is that you're half full. You're full of some of the greatest movies ever made, and Me too. And for a movie to meet our high standards, it's going to be tough. And everybody, I think the more that you consume, the more of a critic and selective you are about what movies you think are good and not. But when you're first out there, and maybe you're first introduced to movies, or maybe you've missed a lot of the greatest movies, you go back and watch them, and you get to experience them for the first time. They're not maybe as jaded, or maybe they're not as restricting to what is a great movie and what isn't, as we are. So we are a victim of our own love and passion for movies. It's the fact that we've seen so much. Some of it just seems like recycled crap. I've seen this done better. I've seen this. Oh, this director's done way better movies than this. He's done, or the last movie this director made was crap. I'm not watching that. Well, most people don't think that way. You know what I mean? So, for think about what your greatest movie is in your life. That you would, if you had one movie to watch, you can only watch one movie, what that movie would be. Well, maybe on this list, it's going to be somebody's movie. And it might be because it's the first thing they ever watched.
True.
Or it's the first superhero film they've ever seen, or it's the first romantic drama that they felt connected to as a teenager, or it reminds them of something in their life that connects them with something special in their life, and they'll never forget it. So somebody's Back to the Future is probably on our list. The Back to the Future is that movie for me. Somebody's Back to the Future is on this list.
Okay.
Mike, we've got another one in the can. Any final closing thoughts for...
Producers telling me to wrap it up.
Yeah, well...
Nobody cares about what Mike needs or
Nobody
wants.
seems to care.
And all of Mike's needs always get neglected. It's cool. It's cool. I do it for you guys. I'm a man of the people. I suffer for the fans. It's my karma, I guess.
Well, help Mike with his suffrage by leaving a like, spreading this podcast to someone that you love.
Just want to find some love.
Give it to him as a 10th anniversary gift. I don't know. Thank you for listening, though, for sure. From our America to yours. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Top 10 Movie Podcast.
With Mike and Mulley.
See you.